The morning started like any other Tuesday at Earth Defense Command. Admiral Sarah Chen was drinking her third cup of coffee when the alarms began screaming throughout the station. Red lights flashed across every screen as Lieutenant Rodriguez burst into her office. "Admiral, we have contact, multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of our system." Sarah set down her mug and walked to the main display. 12 massive vessels hung in space like predators studying their prey. Each ship was 3 times larger than anything humans had ever built. Their hulls gleamed with an impossible silver sheen that seemed to bend light around them. "Are they responding to our communications?" Sarah asked. "Yes, ma'am. They're requesting to speak with our planetary leader. Patch them through to the main screen." The display flickered and showed a creature that looked like a cross between a lizard and a bird. Its scales shimmered with colors that hurt to look at directly. When it spoke, its voice carried the tone of someone talking to a child. "Greetings, primitive inhabitants of the third planet. I am Ambassador Kethvar of the Zephyrian Galactic Empire. Your small world now belongs to us." Sarah stepped forward. "I'm Admiral Sarah Chen, Commander of Earth's Defense Forces. You're not welcome here." Kethvar made a sound that might have been laughter. "Defense Forces? How amusing. Our scouts told us you were playing with metal toys, but this is even more entertaining than we expected." "Perhaps you'd like to see our metal toys up close," Sarah replied. "Oh yes, please do show us. We could use the entertainment." Within an hour, Sarah had assembled Earth's 3 prototype warships in orbit above the planet. The UES Defiance looked like a giant metal tube with weapons bolted onto every surface. The UES Resilience resembled a collection of boxes held together with steel cables and hope. The UES Tenacity appeared to be falling apart even while floating in space. Ambassador Kethvar's ship moved closer to inspect the human vessels. Sarah could hear alien voices chattering and laughing through the communication channel. "These are your warships?" Kethvar asked. "They look like scrap metal held together with primitive adhesives." "They've served us well," Sarah said calmly. "Served? You well against what? Space debris? These vessels use fusion drives that our ancestors abandoned 1,000 years ago. Your weapons appear to be simple kinetic projectiles. And this armor plating looks like it was hammered together by children." More laughter came through the speakers. Sarah could see other alien faces appearing on the screen, all pointing at the human ships and making jokes she couldn't understand. "Your largest vessel appears to be powered by what our sensors rate as a coffee machine," another alien voice said. "How wonderfully primitive," Sarah smiled. "We make do with what we have." "Indeed you do. It's actually quite touching how you've tried so hard with so little. Your species shows admirable determination in the face of obvious limitations." The ambassador's ship completed its inspection and moved back to a safe distance. Kethvar's face reappeared on the screen, his expression now more serious. "Now that we've enjoyed your little display, let us discuss terms. Your planet will submit to Imperial rule. You will dismantle these toys you call warships. Your people will work in our mining operations throughout this system. In return, we will allow your species to continue existing." "And if we refuse?" Sarah asked. "Then we will demonstrate why the Zephyrian Empire rules half the galaxy. Your primitive technology would last perhaps 30 seconds against our battle group." Sarah looked at her bridge crew. Lieutenant Rodriguez was gripping his console so hard his knuckles had turned white. Engineer Thompson was running calculations on her tablet, shaking her head at the numbers. Weapons Officer Kim was staring at the alien ships with the expression of someone counting bullets before a gunfight. "How long do we have to decide?" Sarah asked. "We are generous. You have 24 of your planetary rotations to surrender. Use this time wisely. Study our ships. Read about our empire in your primitive databases. Understand that resistance is not just futile, but laughably impossible." The communication ended. Sarah stared at the black screen for a long moment while her bridge crew waited for orders. "Rodriguez, get me a connection to Earth Defense Council. Thompson, I want full diagnostic reports on all 3 ships. Kim, prep all weapon systems and run combat scenarios. Admiral, Thompson said quietly, their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Our best weapons might not even scratch their shields. Maybe, Sarah replied, but they've made one crucial mistake. What's that? They think they know everything about us after looking at our ships for an hour. They see fusion drives and kinetic weapons and assume we're primitive. They don't understand that every system on these ships was built by people who've been fighting for survival since we crawled out of caves. She turned to face her crew. Earth isn't some peaceful paradise world like most species evolved on. We've survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, volcanic winters, and 2 world wars. We've learned to make weapons out of farming tools and turn everyday objects into instruments of destruction. But Admiral, their firepower... Firepower isn't everything, Sarah interrupted. These aliens have advanced technology, but they've never had to fight for their lives with nothing but scrap metal and determination. They've never had to choose between eating and building better weapons. They've never had to innovate or die. She walked to the window overlooking Earth. The blue planet spun slowly below them, peaceful and beautiful. But Sarah knew that beauty hid a violent history of species fighting to survive in a world that tried to kill them every day. Send a message back to Ambassador Kethvar, she said. What should it say? Rodriguez asked. Sarah smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Tell him that Earth has received his offer and formally declines. Tell him that if he wants our planet, he's welcome to come and take it. Admiral, shouldn't we at least try to negotiate? Maybe we could... Rodriguez, humanity didn't become the dominant species on Earth by backing down from bigger predators. We became dominant by being too stubborn to know when we were beaten. She turned back to her crew. Thompson, I want you to activate the special modifications we've been working on, the ones that aren't in any official reports. Thompson's eyes widened. All of them? Every single one. Kim, contact our sister ships and tell them to prepare for combat operations. And Rodriguez, send a message to all Earth colonies and mining stations. Tell them to come home. Ma'am, that will take weeks for the distant ones. Then they'd better start moving now. 24 hours later, Ambassador Kethvar's face appeared on the screen again. His expression showed mild curiosity, as if he was watching an interesting insect. Well, humans, have you made the sensible choice? Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the communication panel in her dress uniform. Behind her, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. Through the window, the 3 human ships hung in space like ancient warriors preparing for battle. Ambassador Kethvar, Sarah said formally, the people of Earth have considered your offer carefully. Excellent. I assume you're ready to surrender your primitive vessels and submit to Imperial authority? Actually, we have a counteroffer. Oh? How amusing. What could you possibly offer the Zephyrian Empire? Sarah's smile was cold as deep space. We offer you the chance to leave our system peacefully. You have 12 hours. The alien ambassador stared at her for a moment, then burst into laughter. Other voices joined in from off-screen until the bridge filled with the sound of alien amusement. 12 hours? Or what? You'll attack us with your coffee-powered ships? Ambassador, Sarah said quietly, you've spent a day studying our technology and decided we're no threat, but you haven't spent any time studying us. That's going to be a problem for you. I think not. Goodbye, Admiral Chen. It's unfortunate that your species chose extinction over servitude. The communication ended. Sarah turned to her crew. All stations, prepare for combat. Today we find out if human stubborn is stronger than alien technology. Admiral Vex Thol stood on the bridge of the Imperial Dominion and watched his battle group move into position. 12 of the Empire's finest dreadnoughts spread out in a perfect formation around the small human fleet. Each Imperial ship was a masterpiece of engineering, armed with plasma cannons that could melt mountains and shields that had never been breached. Sir, we're receiving transmission requests from across the galaxy, his communications officer reported. Word has spread about the demonstration. Everyone wants to watch. Excellent, Vexthal replied. Patch the feed through to the Imperial network. Let every species see what happens when primitives refuse the Empire's generosity. On planets throughout Zephyrian space, millions of beings tuned in to watch the entertainment. The humans had provided an amusing story over the past day. A species so backward they still used fusion drives thought they could challenge the mighty Empire. It would be like watching children play war with sticks and stones. Vexthal studied the 3 human ships on his tactical display. The vessels, hung in space like wounded animals, venting small amounts of atmosphere and energy. Their mismatched weapons pointed in different directions. One ship appeared to have hull breaches that the crew was trying to patch with metal plates. "Sir, our sensors show significant power fluctuations in their systems," the tactical officer reported. "Their fusion reactors are running far above safe parameters. They might explode before we even fire." "How tragic," Vexthal said with amusement. "It would rob us of the pleasure of destroying them properly." He opened a channel to the human fleet. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the screen, her expression calm despite the impossible situation she faced. "Admiral Chen, I am Admiral Vexthal of the Imperial Fleet. I want you to understand that this is not personal. Your species simply chose poorly." "I understand completely," Chen replied. "No hard feelings. I appreciate your calm acceptance of the inevitable. As a professional courtesy, I will make this quick. You will not suffer long." "That's very kind of you, Admiral." Vexthal smiled. He had always respected courage, even in inferior species. "Begin the demonstration," he ordered his weapons officer. "Target their engines first. Let them watch their ships die slowly." The Imperial dreadnoughts opened fire with measured precision. Bright beams of superheated plasma lanced across space, striking the human vessels with perfect accuracy. The shields on the human ships flickered and sparked, clearly overwhelmed by the Imperial firepower. "Direct hits on all targets," the weapons officer reported. "Their shields are failing rapidly." On the tactical display, the human ships continued to take damage. Explosions bloomed along their hulls as armor plating was burned away. The largest human vessel, the UES Tenacity, appeared to suffer a catastrophic failure. Atmosphere and debris poured from multiple hull breaches. "Sir, the Tenacity is venting life support," the sensors officer announced. "Their reactor is going critical." Perfect, Vexthal thought. The galaxy would see that even the human's largest ship couldn't withstand a few minutes of Imperial firepower. He was about to order the final volley when something changed. The human, energy signatures on his display suddenly spiked. All 3 ships blazed with power levels that should have been impossible for their primitive reactors. "Sir, I'm reading massive power surges from the human vessels. Their energy output just increased by 300%. "That's impossible," Vexthal said. "Their reactors can't produce that much power." "Sir, I think they're not using their reactors anymore." Before Vexthal could ask what that meant, the human ships moved. They had been drifting like debris moments before, but now they accelerated with shocking speed. The UES Defiance spun on its axis like a massive bullet, its hull glowing with stored energy. "Evasive action!" Vexthal shouted. But it was too late. The Defiance had become a projectile. The entire front section of the ship detached and flew straight at the Imperial Dominion like a guided missile traveling at 10% of light speed. Vexthal's shields, designed to stop energy weapons, couldn't deflect the massive kinetic impact. The human projectile punched through the Dominion's hull like paper. It kept going, passing completely through the ship and continuing toward the Dreadnought Eternal Glory. The second impact was even more devastating. The Eternal Glory broke apart in a chain of explosions that lit up the darkness. "Damage report!" Vexthal shouted over the alarms. "Sir, we've lost decks 12 through 18. Reactor room 2 is gone. We have hull breaches on 6 levels. How is this possible? They're using kinetic weapons. Sir, the other human ships." are moving. Vexthol turned to see the UES Resilience changing shape. What he had thought was primitive armor plating was actually separating from the ship. Hundreds of metal plates drifted away from the vessel's hull, each one trailing a small engine and guidance system. "Those aren't armor plates," his tactical officer said in amazement. "They're autonomous weapons." The separated plates began moving toward the Imperial fleet with purpose. Each one was the size of a small fighter, but moved with the determination of a guided missile. The Imperial point defense systems tried to shoot them down, but there were too many moving in too many directions. "Sir, the plates are attaching to our hulls. Shoot them off." "We're trying, but they're using some kind of adaptive camouflage. Our targeting systems can't lock on to them." The first explosions came 30 seconds later. Nuclear charges hidden inside the armor plates detonated simultaneously across the Imperial fleet. Ships that had been pristine moments before suddenly found themselves riddled with holes. "Sir, the Triumphant is reporting critical damage. The Invincible has lost main power. The Conqueror is..." The report was cut off as the Conqueror exploded. A chain reaction in its antimatter storage had torn the mighty dreadnought apart from the inside. "What about the third human ship?" Vexthol demanded. "Sir, the tenacity appears to be..." "Sir, this doesn't make sense." "Report." "Sir, the tenacity wasn't actually damaged. The atmosphere and debris it was venting contained millions of microscopic machines. They're spreading across our hulls and converting our armor into more of themselves." Vexthol watched in horror as his beautiful ships began to dissolve. The hull plating on the nearest dreadnought was changing color and texture as tiny machines ate it from the outside. What had been gleaming Imperial armor was becoming something else entirely. "Sir, the nanobots are rewriting our hull composition at the molecular level. They're turning our own ships against us. How do we stop them?" "I don't know, sir. This technology is completely unknown to our databases." Vexthol looked at his tactical display. Half his battle group was already crippled or destroyed. The other half was being eaten alive by machines too small to see. In less than 10 minutes, the most powerful fleet in this sector had been reduced to scrap metal by 3 primitive ships. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Admiral Chen." "Put her on screen." Chen's face appeared, still calm despite the destruction around her. Behind her, Vexthol could see human crew members working frantically at damaged consoles. The bridge looked like it had been through a war, but the humans were still fighting. "Admiral Vexthol, I wanted to check on your demonstration. How do you think it's going?" "How?" Vexthol asked. "How did you do this?" "You made the same mistake everyone makes when they look at human technology," Chen replied. "You assumed that simple meant weak. Your weapons are primitive. Your ships are held together with basic materials." "That's right. But primitive doesn't mean ineffective. Basic doesn't mean useless. We've learned to make every part of our ships serve multiple purposes because we've never had the luxury of abundance." Chen gestured to her damaged bridge. "You see jury-rigged systems and think we're desperate. We see backup systems that can't be taken offline because they were never supposed to be primary systems in the first place. Your shields failed in the first volley. Our shields did exactly what they were designed to do. They absorbed your energy and stored it. We've been fighting on worlds with radiation storms and electromagnetic pulses for thousands of years. We learned to turn hostile energy into useful power." Vexthol felt a chill run down his spine. "You planned this." "We planned for someone like you. Earth has been invaded before, Admiral. Not by aliens, but by ice ages, asteroid impacts, volcanic winters, and our own stupidity. We've learned that survival means being ready for anything." "Sir," the tactical officer interrupted, "we need to withdraw. We've lost 7 ships and the nanobots are still spreading." Chen heard the report. "Admiral Vexthol, I suggest you take your remaining ships and leave our system. Consider this your demonstration of human capabilities." "This isn't over," Vexthol said. "No, it probably isn't. But next time you come to our home, remember something important." "What's that?" Chen's smile was sharp as a knife. We're not just fighting for territory or resources, we're fighting for the right to exist in a universe that's been trying to kill us since we first looked up at the stars. That makes us very dangerous neighbors." The transmission ended. Vexathol looked at what remained of his once mighty battle group. Ships that had never known defeat were now floating wrecks or piles of self-replicating metal. "Sir? Orders?" Vexathol stared at the three human ships. They were still venting. News of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On 1,000 worlds, beings who had never heard of Earth gathered around their communication devices to watch recordings of the impossible fight. The Zephyrian Empire, masters of half the galaxy, had been humiliated by a species that still used fusion drives. Captain Zara of the merchant vessel Lucky Strike was trading in the Proxima system when the first reports came through. She gathered her mixed crew of Altarians, vegans, and one nervous Zephyrian around the ship's communication console. "Play it again," said her engineer, a blue-skinned Altarian named Kex. The recording showed the moment when the human ship UES, Defiance, transformed into a weapon. The vessel spun like a drill bit, building up rotational energy that should have torn it apart. Instead, the front section detached and flew at the Imperial dreadnought like a spear thrown by an angry god. "Look at that," Kex whispered. "They turned their entire ship into a bullet." "That's impossible," said the Zephyrian crew member, a pale creature named Vith. "The structural stress would destroy any vessel." "Maybe," Zara replied, "but it worked." The recording continued, showing the second human ship releasing what looked like armor plating. The metal pieces moved through space with purpose, each one seeking out an Imperial target. "When they made contact, they exploded with nuclear fire." "Those weren't armor plates," Vith said. "They were bombs disguised as defensive systems." "Smart," Kex admitted. "Make your enemy think they're looking at protection when they're actually looking at weapons." The third part of the recording was the most disturbing. The UES Tenacity appeared to suffer catastrophic damage, venting atmosphere and debris into space, but the leaked materials contained microscopic machines that began converting Imperial hull plating into more of themselves. "Nanobots," Zara said. "The humans seeded space with self-replicating machines and made it look like battle damage." That's brilliant," Kex said, "and terrifying." Vith was shaking. "The Empire will respond. They have to. No species can be allowed to defeat Imperial forces." "Maybe," Zara said. "But I'm thinking we might want to avoid Zephyrian space for a while. If the humans can do this to a battle group, what happens when the Empire sends a real fleet?" On the Imperial capital world of Zephyr Prime, Emperor Zektheron read Admiral Vexthol's report for the third time. The throne room was silent except for the quiet breathing of his advisors, all waiting for their ruler's response. "Nanobots," the Emperor said finally. "They used nanobots against us." "Yes, my lord," replied Grand Admiral Kess. "The technology appears to be completely unknown to our databases. The machines converted our hull armor into more of themselves at the molecular level. And the kinetic weapons? Primitive but effective, my lord. They used their own ships as projectiles somehow, solving the structural problems that should have made such attacks impossible." The Emperor stood and walked to the great window overlooking his capital city. Millions of Zephyrians went about their daily lives below, secure in the knowledge that their empire was invincible. How could he tell them that 3 alien ships had shattered that illusion? "How many ships did we lose?" 7 dreadnoughts destroyed, my lord. 3 more damaged beyond repair. It will take years to replace them." "And the humans?" "All 3 ships survived, my lord. They took damage, but remained operational throughout the engagement." The Emperor was quiet for a long moment. "Grand Admiral, what do we know about this species?" "Very little, my lord. Our scouts reported them as primitive tool users with basic spaceflight capability. They appeared to pose no threat to Imperial interests." "Clearly our scouts were wrong," Yes, my lord. The Emperor turned back to his advisors. What do we know about their world? A nervous-looking intelligence officer stepped forward. Earth appears to be an unusually hostile planet, my lord. The surface experiences regular ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and asteroid impacts. The dominant species evolved under constant threat of extinction. Interesting. Continue. The humans have a history of warfare, my lord. They've fought countless battles against their environment, other species on their world, and each other. Every advancement in their technology came from a need to survive something trying to kill them. So they're natural warriors. More than that, my lord. They're natural survivors. Every system on their ships serves multiple purposes because they've never had enough resources to build single-purpose equipment. The Emperor nodded slowly. Show me the recordings again. The battle played out on the main screen. The Emperor watched carefully as the human ships transformed from seemingly helpless targets into deadly weapons. Each move was calculated, each system had been designed with combat in mind. They weren't using their reactors to power those final attacks, he observed. No, my lord. Analysis suggests they used our own weapons as power sources. Their shields absorbed our plasma fire and converted it to usable energy. Clever. Yes, my lord, but also disturbing. It suggests they've been preparing for this type of engagement for some time. The Emperor studied the final moments of the battle when Admiral Chen delivered her message to the retreating Imperial forces. The human's face showed no fear, no uncertainty. She looked like someone who had expected to win. Grand Admiral, prepare the Grand Armada. My lord? We will not allow this insult to stand. Gather every available ship. I want 1,000 vessels ready for deployment within the month. Sir, surely that's excessive. The humans only have 3 ships. The humans only showed us 3. Ships, the Emperor corrected. We know nothing about their full capabilities. Meanwhile, back in Earth's solar system, Admiral Chen stood in the Situation Room deep beneath Earth Defense Command. Around her, holographic displays showed the damage to her 3 ships and the status of incoming reinforcements. Report, she said to her staff. The Defiance lost its forward section as planned, but the crew compartments are intact, reported Colonel Martinez. They're already fitting a new projectile system. The Resilience expended 60% of its armor drones, but production systems are manufacturing replacements, added Commander Park. We should be back to full capacity within 2 weeks. And the tenacity? Nanobots performed as expected, said Dr. Patel, the project's chief scientist. We've recalled most of them, but some are still converting Imperial wreckage into useful materials. Chen nodded. How long until our reinforcements arrive? The Mars Defense Fleet will be here in 6 days, Martinez replied. The asteroid mining ships should arrive within 2 weeks. The deep space exploration vessels won't make it for at least a month. That might not be fast enough. Intelligence suggests the Empire won't let this defeat go unanswered. Admiral, Dr. Patel said, we've learned a lot from this engagement. The Imperial weapons are powerful but predictable. Their shields can't handle kinetic impacts above certain velocities, and their sensors have trouble tracking multiple small objects. Good. What about their tactics? Conventional, Commander Park replied. They rely on superior firepower and expect enemies to fight the same way they do. They don't adapt well to unexpected strategies. Chen smiled. Then we'll make sure to stay unexpected. She turned to the main display, which showed Earth surrounded by the debris of the Imperial fleet. Already, human salvage teams were collecting useful materials and technology. Nothing would be wasted. Colonel, I want you to contact every human settlement in known space. Tell them what happened here, and make it clear that this is just the beginning. Yes, ma'am. What should we tell them to expect? The Empire will come back with everything they have. When they do, we need to be ready to show them that humans don't just survive. We win. Over the next several days, the recordings of the battle reached every corner of known space. Species that had lived under Imperial rule for centuries watched in amazement as 3 primitive ships destroyed a modern battle group. Some began to whisper about resistance. Others started planning rebellions. On the trading station Nexus 7, Captain Zara met with other independent merchants to discuss the changing galaxy. "The Empire's reputation is broken," said a Rigelian trader. "If humans can beat them, maybe. They're not invincible after all." "Don't be too quick to celebrate," warned a Centaurian pilot. "The Empire has thousands of ships. This was just one battle group." "Maybe," Zara replied, "but it was the first time anyone has made them bleed. That changes everything." Across the galaxy, the message was spreading. The Zephyrian Empire could be defeated. A species using technology 1,000 years old had proven it was possible. Now everyone was waiting to see what would happen when the Empire responded with their full strength. On Earth, Admiral Chen read the intelligence reports coming in from across human space. Ships were moving, crews were volunteering, and weapons were being manufactured at every human facility in the galaxy. "How many ships will we have when they come back?" she asked Martinez. "Hard to say exactly, but current projections suggest around 300 vessels of various sizes against 1,000 Imperial ships." "Yes, ma'am." Chen nodded. "Acceptable odds." "Ma'am?" "Colonel, the Empire thinks they understand us now. They've seen our technology and they think they know how to counter it. But they're making the same mistake they made the first time." "What's that, Admiral?" "They're thinking like conquerors. We're thinking like survivors. There's a Emperor Zektharan stood before the assembled might of the Zephyrian Empire. 1,000 ships filled the space around the Imperial capital, their hulls gleaming with fresh armor and newly installed weapons. The Grand Armada represented the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Citizens of the Empire, the Emperor's voice broadcast across 1,000 worlds, we gather today to address an insult that cannot be tolerated. A primitive species has dared to raise weapons against us. Today, we remind the galaxy why the Zephyrian Empire rules the stars. On planets throughout Imperial space, billions of beings watched the spectacle. The massive fleet began moving toward the hyperspace jump point, their formation perfect and their purpose clear. The humans had won one battle through luck and trickery. They would not survive the Empire's full attention. Admiral Vex Thol commanded the advanced scouts, his surviving ships now repaired and upgraded with new weapons designed specifically to counter human tactics. He had studied the recordings of his defeat countless times, learning every detail of how the primitives had outfought him. "Sir, we're approaching the human system," his navigation officer reported. "Excellent. Begin deep scans. I want to know the location and capabilities of every human vessel." The sensors painted a picture that made Vex Thol smile. 300 human ships waited in Earth's orbit, a pitiful force compared to the 1,000 vessels of the Grand Armada. The alien fleet looked like a collection of mining vessels, exploration ships, and converted cargo haulers. "Sir, some of these ships appear to be civilian vessels with weapons bolted onto their hulls." "Desperate," Vex Thol observed. "They're using everything they have." But as his ships drew closer, Vex Thol noticed something that made him uncomfortable. The human fleet wasn't arranged in any recognizable formation. Instead, the ships drifted in seemingly random patterns throughout the system. Some hung near Earth's moon, others floated among the asteroid belt, and still others lurked near the outer planets. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet." Admiral Chen's face appeared on the screen, her expression as calm as it had been during their first meeting. Behind her, Vex Thol could see a bridge that looked like it belonged on a mining ship rather than a warship. "Admiral Vex Thol, welcome back to our system. I see you brought friends." "Admiral Chen, you face the full might of the Zephyrian Empire. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick." "That's generous of you, but we'll have to decline. You see, we've been preparing for your return visit. 300 ships against 1,000. Your mathematics are poor." Chen smiled. "You're still thinking in terms of ship counts. We're thinking in terms of home advantage." Before Vex Thol could ask what she meant, His sensors officer interrupted. Sir, I'm detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system. Power sources that weren't there during our first visit. Explain. Sir, it appears the humans have been busy. They've installed weapon platforms throughout their system. Asteroid mining stations have been converted to defensive positions. Even their moon appears to have been hollowed out and filled with weapons. Vexthal studied his tactical display with growing unease. Red dots marking human defensive positions appeared everywhere he looked. The entire solar system had been turned into a fortress. How many defensive installations? He asked. Sir, at current count, over 10,000 individual weapon platforms. That's impossible. They couldn't have built that many installations in just a few months. Sir, I think they didn't build them. I think they converted existing infrastructure, mining platforms, communication satellites, space stations, cargo containers. Everything in their system appears to have been weaponized. Chen's voice interrupted his thoughts. Admiral, I should mention that you're not just fighting our fleet today. You're fighting our entire civilization. What do you mean? Every human installation in this system is armed and ready. Our mining platforms are launching kinetic projectiles. Our communication satellites are targeting your ships with laser arrays. Even our garbage scows have been fitted with nuclear warheads. Vexthal felt a chill run down his spine. You've turned your entire system into a weapon. That's what we do, Admiral. We adapt. When we realized you were coming back with a larger fleet, we didn't just build more ships. We turned everything we had into a tool for defense. The Emperor's voice cut across the communication channel. Enough of this primitive posturing. All ships advance to attack formation. Destroy every human vessel and installation. The Grand Armada began its advance, weapons charging and shields at maximum power. But as they moved deeper into the system, the scale of human preparation became clear. Asteroid mining platforms that looked abandoned suddenly blazed with weapon fire. Communication satellites revealed hidden missile batteries. Even chunks of space debris turned out to be disguised weapons platforms. Sir, we're taking fire from multiple directions, the weapons officer reported. Thousands of individual targets. Return. Fire! Destroy everything! But the human defensive network was unlike anything the Empire had ever faced. Instead of massive, heavily armored installations, the humans had created thousands of small, mobile platforms that were difficult to target and impossible to destroy quickly. Sir, for every platform we destroy, 3 more appear from hiding. Where? Are they coming from? Sir, I think they're not coming from anywhere. I think they were already here, disguised as normal space infrastructure. Vexthal watched in amazement as a floating cargo container suddenly unfolded into a missile platform and launched a nuclear warhead at his ship. The container had been drifting in space for who knew how long, looking like abandoned debris until the moment it revealed its true purpose. Sir, the humans aren't just fighting us with their fleet. They're fighting us with their entire solar system. The battle became a nightmare of confusion and constant threat. Imperial ships found themselves under attack from directions they hadn't even considered. A communications relay turned out to be a particle beam weapon. A weather satellite revealed itself as a kinetic bombardment platform. Even floating chunks of ice from the outer system contained hidden explosive charges. This is madness, the Emperor said over the command channel. They've militarized everything, Chen's voice responded immediately. Your Majesty, welcome to human space. Every piece of equipment in this system serves at least 3 purposes. Our mining platforms extract resources, process materials, and defend our territory. Our communication satellites relay messages, monitor space traffic, and target enemy vessels. Why would you do such a thing? Because we learned a long time. Ego, that peaceful infrastructure is a luxury we can't afford. On Earth, our cities serve as population centers, manufacturing hubs, and fortress complexes. Our farms grow food, process biomass, and serve as defensive positions. Everything we build must be ready to become a weapon if necessary. The Emperor watched his mighty fleet struggle against an enemy that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at once. For every human target they destroyed, two more revealed themselves. The solar system itself was fighting back. "Admiral Chen," he said, "what kind of species are you?" "We're survivors, Your Majesty. Our planet tried to kill us with ice ages, so we learned to build cities that could withstand any climate. Asteroids bombarded us from space, so we learned to turn space rocks into weapons. Volcanic eruptions poisoned our air, so we learned to make everything we need from raw materials. But this level of militarization is normal for us. Earth is a world where the environment itself was our enemy for millions of years. We learned that everything we build must be able to defend itself, because nature doesn't respect neutral territory. The battle raged for hours as the Imperial fleet tried to fight an enemy that was literally everywhere. Every piece of human infrastructure revealed hidden weapons. Every floating object in space turned out to be a potential threat. "Sir, we've destroyed over 3,000 human platforms, but they keep revealing more," the tactical officer reported. "How is that possible?" "Sir, I think they've been preparing for this fight for longer than just a few months. Some of these installations look like they've been militarized for years." Chen's voice cut through the confusion. "Admiral Vexthal, did you really think we started preparing for alien invasion after we met you? We've been getting ready for this fight since we first looked at the stars and realized we weren't alone. You couldn't have known the Empire existed. We didn't need to know about you specifically. We knew that space was dangerous and that someday someone would try to take our homes away from us, so we prepared. By militarizing everything you built, by making sure that everything we built could serve multiple purposes. Our space stations mine asteroids, house workers, and mount defensive weapons. Our transport ships carry cargo, ferry passengers, and deploy weapons platforms. Our communication networks relay messages, gather intelligence, and coordinate defensive operations. The Emperor's flagship, the Imperial Supremacy, found itself under attack from a dozen directions at once. Particle beams from hidden satellites, kinetic projectiles from asteroid platforms, and guided missiles from converted cargo ships. "Your Majesty," Chen said, "you made the same mistake you made the first time. You assumed that because our technology looks simple, we must be." Emperor Zektherin stood in his private chambers aboard the Imperial Supremacy, staring out at the alien stars of the human system. 3 days had passed since his Grand Armada had been forced to retreat to the outer planets. 3 days of watching. His military advisors struggled to find a solution to an impossible problem. The humans had done more than resist. They had turned the Empire's greatest strength against itself. Every Imperial doctrine, every tactical manual, every strategic principle assumed that superior technology would guarantee victory. But the humans fought like the technology didn't matter. "Your Majesty," Grand Admiral Kess entered the chamber, carrying another set of tactical reports. "The War Council is ready for your review." "How bad is it?" "We've lost 237 ships, my lord. The humans continue to reveal new defensive positions throughout their system. Our intelligence suggests they have resources we haven't even seen yet." The Emperor turned from the window. "And our casualties?" "Over 50,000 Imperial personnel, my lord. The humans are targeting life support systems and crew compartments specifically. They're not just trying to disable our ships. They're trying to kill our people." "Barbaric, perhaps, my lord, but effective." The Emperor walked to his desk and activated the holographic display showing the human solar system. Red dots marked known defensive positions, but the pattern was incomplete. For every weapon platform they discovered, 3 more revealed themselves during each engagement. "Grand Admiral, in your professional opinion, can we take this system?" Kess was quiet for a long moment. "Yes, my lord. With sufficient force and time, we could probably destroy every human installation and ship. But the cost would be enormous. We might lose half our fleet, possibly more. and that assumes the humans don't have reinforcements coming from their other systems. What do we know about human expansion? Very little, my lord. Our scouts focused on this system because it appeared to be their homeworld, but intelligence suggests they have established colonies and mining operations throughout dozens of nearby systems. The Emperor nodded grimly. So even if we destroy this fleet, we'd be fighting a long war against an enemy that's proven they can hurt us. Yes, my lord. Before the Emperor could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. An aide rushed into the chamber with urgent news. Your Majesty, long-range sensors are detecting new contacts entering the system. Multiple ships arriving from various vectors. Imperial reinforcements? No, my lord. The ships appear to be human vessels. Dozens of them, arriving from different directions. The Emperor and his admiral rushed to the bridge, where the tactical display showed a sobering sight. Human ships were appearing throughout the system, not in a coordinated fleet, but as individual vessels and small groups arriving from hyperspace. Sir, current count shows 87 new human vessels, the sensors officer reported. More are still arriving. What types of ships? Mixed composition, sir. Some appear to be military vessels, but others look like converted civilian craft. Mining ships, cargo haulers, exploration vessels, all showing weapons modifications. Admiral Chen's voice came over the communication system, reaching every ship in the Imperial fleet. Your Majesty, I'd like to introduce you to our neighbors. The ship arriving from the Proxima system is the mining vessel Determination, crewed by humans who've spent the last 5 years extracting metals from asteroids. The vessel coming from Wolf 359 is the exploration ship Curiosity, returning from a deep space survey mission. The Emperor watched as more ships continued to arrive. Each one looked different, clearly built for purposes other than warfare, but modified with weapons and armor. The cargo hauler Enterprise is arriving from our Tau Ceti colony, carrying 300 volunteers who heard about your visit and decided to come home. The research vessel Discovery is returning from the Vega system, where they've been studying stellar phenomena. How many ships are you expecting? The Emperor asked. Hard to say exactly. Word travels fast through human space. When people heard that aliens were threatening Earth, they started coming home. Some of these ships have been traveling for weeks to get here. Grand Admiral Kess studied the tactical display with growing concern. Your Majesty, if this continues, we could be facing a fleet of comparable size to our own. Sir, the communications officer interrupted, we're receiving multiple transmissions from the arriving human vessels. Let me hear them. The bridge filled with voices as dozens of human ship captains reported their arrival. The accents were different, the backgrounds varied, but the message was the same. This is Captain Rodriguez of the mining ship Iron Will. We came as soon as we heard. Where do you need us? Explorer vessel Far Horizon reporting for duty. We've got a full crew and enough supplies for a long fight. Cargo hauler New Hope here. We're carrying 2,000 colonists who wanted to help. Defend Earth. Just tell us where to unload them. The Emperor listened to the steady stream of arrivals with growing unease. These weren't military reinforcements responding to official orders. These were civilians who had abandoned their jobs, their homes, their lives to travel across space and fight for their homeworld. Admiral Chen, he said, these are not soldiers. No, Your Majesty, they're miners, scientists, explorers, traders, and colonists. But they're all human, and humans don't let other people threaten their families. They have no military training. They don't need formal training. Every human knows how to fight. Our children learn to defend themselves before they learn to read. Our workers carry tools that can be used as weapons. Our scientists study ways to turn everything around them into instruments of survival. The Emperor watched as the newly arrived human ships began integrating with the existing defensive network. Mining vessels deployed ore processing equipment. That doubled as kinetic bombardment systems. Exploration ships revealed sensor arrays that could guide weapons from across the system. Even passenger liners disgorged crowds of volunteers who quickly boarded defensive platforms. Your Majesty, Chen continued, you're not fighting an army, you're fighting a civilization. Every human in this system is a potential combatant because we all grew up learning that survival depends on everyone contributing to the fight. This is madness. Civilians don't belong in military engagements. Maybe not in your empire, but we don't make that distinction. When our homes are threatened, everyone fights. The baker who makes bread for our workers can also mix explosives. The teacher who educates our children can also design weapons. The artist who creates beauty for our souls can also plan tactical operations. More ships continued to arrive throughout the day. The human fleet grew from 300 vessels to 500, then 700. Each ship brought not just firepower but also crews trained in multiple disciplines and equipment designed for dual purposes. Sir, the intelligence officer reported, analysis of the arriving human vessels shows a pattern. Every ship appears to be carrying more personnel than necessary for normal operations. Explain. Sir, the mining ships are carrying ore processing specialists, but also metallurgists who can manufacture weapons. The exploration vessels have scientists aboard, but also engineers who can design new technologies. The cargo haulers are transporting not just supplies, but entire factory modules for producing equipment. The Emperor began to understand the scope of what he was facing. They're not just bringing reinforcements, they're bringing their entire industrial capacity. Yes, my lord. If this continues, the human system will become a fortress that can manufacture its own weapons, process its own materials, and train its own personnel independently. As the human fleet reached 800 ships, Emperor Zektharin made a decision that would echo throughout galactic history. He opened a direct communication channel to Admiral Chen. Admiral, I wish to discuss terms. Chen's image appeared on the main screen, her expression showing neither victory nor defeat, only the calm determination that had marked every interaction with the humans. What terms did you have in mind, Your Majesty? The Empire withdraws from this system. In exchange, humanity agrees not to interfere with Imperial territories. That's a start, but we'll need guarantees that the Empire won't return with an even larger fleet. What kind of guarantees? Formal recognition of human territorial claims, establishment of diplomatic relations, and most importantly, acknowledgement that humans are not subjects of the Zephyrian Empire. The Emperor looked around his bridge at the faces of his officers. He saw doubt, fear, and the beginning of respect for an enemy that had proven impossible to understand or defeat through conventional means. Agreed, he said finally. Excellent. We'll prepare a formal treaty for your review. Admiral Chen, may I ask you something? Of course. How long have your people been preparing for this confrontation? Chen smiled. Your Majesty, we've been preparing for this fight since the first human looked up at the night sky and wondered what was out there. We've always known that someday we'd meet someone who wanted to take our homes away from us. And you've been ready. We've been ready for anything. Ice ages, asteroid impacts, alien invasions, or the heat death of the universe. Humans don't just adapt to challenges. We prepare for challenges that haven't even happened yet.